Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
When we're, talk about nurture, client candidate, there's a common theme, and it's relationship building to a certain degree. And for your candidate nurture, why it matters, obviously cold outreach is one of the harder things to execute in your day to day. You're reaching out to folks that may or may not want a job, and trying to get them on the hook and get them placed. So with that, a lot of folks may or may not respond to those messages. So, you can get really sophisticated with nurture, but I think it's also better sometimes to keep it as a bit more simple. And what I'm going to do is kind of highlight some of the simple approach that I might take myself. And when you look at nurture campaigns for candidates, I like to think about it as setting up a cold nurture campaign and then a warm nurture campaign. Your cold nurture campaign is going to be for people that just didn't respond, right? Those are going to be people that you sent outreach, they went through your original sequence, maybe an additional sequence, and never responded. With that cold outreach, or excuse me, cold nurture campaign, a couple things you want to kind of think about as you build those out is, are there any industry or market updates that you could be sharing to, again, kind of get candidates on the hook there? Helpful tips, and then just general touch points. With both of these nurture campaigns, you want to try and stay away from being as transactional versus relationship building, because as I'm sure you can imagine, when people are receiving emails and everything's transactional, they may be more likely to mark it as spam, ignore, everything in between. So for the and for that cold campaign, what I'd recommend is setting it up first. Set it up to be maybe 3 months or so for the first delay. And then you can obviously schedule send as you need to for other particular individuals. And that's just something where once you set it up, kind of have it running in the background, you add the people as you're working through your workflow. And then it's something that is, again, just kind of running in the background. You're not having to set a bunch of endless tasks to try and get in touch with candidate XYZ. And that 3-month time frame is not a standard by any means. That's just something to kind of think about. If it may be that you're reaching out to them down the line, where you might know that you're having a job coming in 3 months, or it might be like a month, right? If that role is still going to be live. So that can kind of be played around with. But after that, going to talk a little bit about the warm nurture campaign, and that's going to be for folks that might get back to you and say with anything, right? Hey, I'm good for now, but maybe reach out to me in Q2, or I'm good for now, reach out to me next year, whatever that looks like. Those are going to be people that get back to you, or maybe they get back to you and say, I'm good with no time frame. I would still consider those people to be put into a warm nurture campaign because they took the time to respond, right? Like, as I'm sure we all know, a lot of others don't. So there's been some sort of relationship built there. And for a warm nurture campaign, you can play around with the messaging and might even work to specify like a first email that brings back a note that they said of, hey, you mentioned Q2, something like that. Just something to kind of keep it personalized. Share any relevant roles or updates, market salary updates. What you're really trying to do here is build interest and build that relationship to keep that going, because there's a lot of folks out there that I'm sure might not be ready at that moment. And as all of you know, being the best veteran recruiters that you are, it's catching people at the right time. And that's really what we're talking about with these nurture campaigns is, you're trying to throw a Hail Mary at the last second and hope that it gets caught. you all do your job really well, so that does happen often, but there's also times that you're going to have to catch people at a certain point. Might just be how they woke up that day, and might just be missed, right? It might just be missed in their inbox. So having these nurture campaigns has a little bit of that safety net to kind of continue that building of relationships and avoid having to get into a web of tasks to reach out to this person, to reach out to that person. Don't be like me, that will create a bunch of endless tasks that you can't find your way out of. So again, that's those are the two that I would stick with, to kind of get started. What you would find is, as you go through that, as Vivian was kind of mentioning on the client side, you might start to become a bit more targeted and have branches of either campaign. And it might be that you're looking at different call to actions, different market insights that you're sharing with your candidates, all sorts of stuff that you can be kind of playing around with, different versions of your campaign. And eventually, like anything, you'll get to a point where you find that McDonald's secret sauce, and you'll be in a good spot with your nurture campaigns and kind of have a system running to keep your communications with candidates constant, but not in a way that they're going to be annoyed, mark you as spam, or never respond.
Sweet. So we're getting a lot of questions about kind of seeing what this could look like in Loxo. Logan, could you do like a quick screen share and just show like what does your outreach hub look like in Loxo, and like what would be kind of the basics of a nurture campaign?
What I would probably do, here's our kind of campaign hub, and some of the campaigns that you might be running and adding candidates from to this nurture campaign, maybe campaigns that are tied to a job, but they're all going to live here. So the moving of candidates to a separate outreach works here. That can all be done within here. It can be done from the job. It's kind of some of the nice functionality there of getting people into different campaigns. Standard, you'll come here, create campaign. There might be a point that you've built out some templates, and that would be a use case here. But for now, you're probably just going to start from scratch. You're going to see a little space like this. I'm going to take the easy route and show email. I'm sure that's what a lot of us would be doing. So what I might do here is come in, create my email, use some of these person tags. Maybe not going to probably use job tags here because we're not tying this to a specific role. But I can use person tags to kind of customize my message to the general mass. So build this out. And then what I would probably do is, for a delay, I would do something like we'll go say 3 weeks for here, right? So if we're doing 3 weeks, maybe realistically, we'd probably do 6 weeks. I could come in, test, can add that. And then I'm just building my sequence from here, right? So then my next stage might be a week after that. And then I don't think you want to have endless stages for a nurture campaign because, yeah, in theory, you could build out a campaign that goes for a year, right? But I think keeping it within 3 to 5 stages, and then from here again, probably adding 1 week delay for this, maybe a 2-week delay after that, and then maybe an additional 6-week delay after that, right? Now, one of the things that I had mentioned earlier, especially when it comes to warm campaigns, is the ability to add people to campaigns. So if it was an example where, let's see, Betty Boop got back to me and said, I'm good right now, but I need a role or I might be good to reach out in Q2. Well, what I can do here is, as I add her to the campaign, we'll choose that one. Obviously, you want to give it a name. That's a really important piece that a lot of people overlook. Give it a name, give it a specific name so you don't play the game of guessing which campaign is which. And then what I would do is, instead of just adding here, I would come over here to this little clock. I'd pick a date and time. Let's say it's February 2nd, 2026. That sounds great. 9 a.m. Save. Now, there's no stages here, which is why it's not saving, but what we'd see ideally is she would just get added to that campaign. We would then move on to the next one. So something that you're kind of putting in place, and rather than setting yourself an abundance of tasks or reminders, it's just set to go. And you can kind of plan those out for those people that are getting back to you. And I think this strategy works because, as most of us, all of us on this call know, cold outreach, it's not filling up your inbox per se, right? So getting responses is the hardest part. So those are going to be a bit more far and few between, especially people that might get back and say, hey, you know, look, give me a shout in Q2. So that makes it a little bit easier to manage that, where if I had prospects in here as well, what I might do is go look and see who replied, and that's an easy filter. So I can come in here, see who replied, and then I can add them from this prospects tab to my nurture campaign. So again, there's no right or wrong here. It's just kind of a matter of how you're, or what space you're managing in, because you could also be in your job and you could look at your outbound stage, you could look at your shortlist stage, wherever you're kind of setting up that sequence on, and you could add them to that nurture campaign from the role as well. So it's a bit of the chicken egg conundrum, but either way works.